Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Earwax. It's Colin, and today we're going to be going over the upcoming album from New Zealand black metal band Tuscoma, Mal de Amores. So this is the fourth full-length album from New Zealand experimental black metal band Tuscoma. And full disclosure here, so this is not a band that I had heard of or was aware of up until very recently. In fact, the lead vocalist and guitarist of this band reached out to me directly from my Deaf Heaven review and asked if I'd be willing to review their new album. This is not the first time that I've done a review for a new band, or not necessarily a new band, but a smaller, lesser known band that has actually reached out to me directly asking if I would review their album. Once with a rock band out of the LA area called Wicked, and then again with a post-rock project called Sightseeing Crew. Now, if you go look at both of those reviews, I am incredibly honest. I'm giving my honest opinion. I'm not being biased just because they asked me to review their album, and that stands here as well. What I will say, though, is that with this particular review, the lead singer or the lead vocalist and guitarist for Tuscoma reached out to me and gave me the opportunity to listen to the album before it's officially released. So this album comes out on April 25th, so not quite yet, a couple weeks. And, I'm very grateful I got the chance to listen to it ahead of time. It actually is making me feel a little bit validated as a very amateur critic. So thank you so much for that. So with that all out of the way, let's talk about this album. So first of all, it's clear why they found me based off my Deaf Heaven review, which link for that is going to be down in the description. You can go check it out after this if you haven't seen it already. They actually toured with Deaf Heaven in 2024 when Deaf Heaven was touring New Zealand. So clearly they know him pretty well. Actually, the bass player for Deaf Heaven helped produce and record this album from Tuscoma. So there's a little bit of a connection there. And I can see why, because they are another band in the black metal scene that doesn't really stick to the traditional walls or barriers of black metal. They, experiment with post metal. There's some shoegaze, there's some post punk, there's even some alt rock licks thrown in here and there for good measure. But at its core, this is a black metal album. And let me just say right off the bat, before we get into the track list, it's a killer album. I absolutely love this album. Couple small critiques here and there, but for the most part, I think this is an absolutely amazing album. I can't wait to listen to more of this band now that I'm finally done with this review and I can actually go back into their discography a little bit. But yeah, this album is available for pre-order, so go check it out. And with that out of the way, let's talk about the track list. But before we do that, if you guys could please like, subscribe, leave a comment, ring a bell, all that stuff helps me out a ton. Share this video with your friends. If you like my content, make sure you stay up to date. I'm going to have a ton more videos coming out soon. So the album opens up with the Reality Check. This is the first single available on the album. You can go check it out on Spotify now. And man, what a way to open an album. So it comes in super heavy with this really twangy snare and hi-hat focused drum pieces. The guitar is just fuzzy and brutal, and the vocals are killer. That traditional sort of mid, almost screeching black metal vocals that you can kind of come to expect in the genre. And about a minute in, it kind of slows down a little bit, gets into this really sort of groovy breakdown, then just kicks into a slightly higher octane guitar tone on top of it, and it's just absolutely wild. Really, really like this track. Strong opening to what's going to be a very fun album if you're into this type of music. My one complaint, though, and it's not on every song, but it's definitely, I feel prevalent on this song and a couple other ones, is I feel the mix is a little bit low in the vocals and some of the drums. So the snare and the hi-hat are really there, front and center, but I feel the bass drum in particular kind of gets lost a little bit. And I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I would have liked a little bit more on it. And I know in general with black metal vocals, they oftentimes kind of take a back seat and blend in more to the soundscape. But I definitely would have liked them a little bit more front and center on this song. But other than that, absolute killer track. And after that, we get into probably my favorite song on the album, Descent for the Lovers. And this is a wild track. So first off, my complaints about the vocal mixing on the previous song, gone. I think they're perfectly mixed here. It starts with some really brutal blast beats, like right off the bat, and then it gets into these like kind of dueling guitar tones that almost remind me of like the last Gojira album a little bit, with like the like really low sort of like backing guitar just like adding to the soundscape of the song, and then the higher, more like almost wailing guitar kind of going against it. The vocals here go between like mids and low growls super well, and it's just it's a really fun song. There's a bridge at about 2 minutes, almost 3 minutes in, that gets into this like super groovy, almost like alt metal sort of feel, before it kicks like right back up again. And yeah, I love the melody of this song, especially when the guitar starts like really get like driving the song forward. Like there's a couple parts where there's like this one particular lead that's just like pushing it forward, and it's super catchy, super fun. And yeah, I think this is probably hands down my favorite song on the album. Just absolutely a blast to listen to. After that is the After Hour Party, and this just starts right away for the most part. There's like a really brief sort of like windy, eerie intro, but then it hits almost immediately with like the fastest blast beats yet on the album, some crunching, like driving, pounding guitars, the really like low guttural growls before it like kind of kicks into the more classic mids that you would come to find on like a black metal album. And this song is just high octane pretty much the entire time, even when it does. So it does like do a couple drastic tempo changes at a few of like the main verses, where it goes from like really fast and intense into a little more like laid back and groovy, but it doesn't take away from like the drive and the like heart of the song itself. It's still absolutely devastating, and I think it works really well. The guitar tones here are very muffled and fuzzy, and like on some of the lower parts even like fall into a kind of shoegaze, black gaze vibe, which again makes sense considering like the type of band that they are and how I discovered them. So of course there's going to be some Death Heaven influence there, and I'm sure that there's other bands that have influenced this sound as well, but they do it just as good as any of them. I will say on this song as well, the vocals are mixed really well, but I do think the drums at certain parts do like sound a bit quieter than I would want. Again, specifically on the bass drum, I wish it was just a little clearer or just like a little bit more prevalent. But outside of that, super fun song. And again, 3 tracks in, and I'm absolutely loving this album so far. After that is Satellites, and this starts pretty slow. It's very eerie, kind of has that like underwater drowned feel that you get in a lot of like post rock or post metal, and then it quickly kind of settles into some like classic post black metal. And yeah, really like this one as well. There's the like kind of a darker bass that's driving the song right at the beginning, with some more sort of like classic metal guitar tones on top of it. And I like the dichotomy of that as well, where it's like again that like deep, almost like pounding bass with like the higher, not just the higher pitch, but like the more kind of classic metal guitars like going on top of it. It shines really well in this song. Vocals again, absolutely killer. I think Kurt's ability as a guitarist and a vocalist are absolutely incredible. Like it's really impressive, what a, at least to me, relatively unknown band is doing on this album. And it's, if you don't know these guys and you're watching this, like please go listen to them, because this is incredible. And I promise they didn't pay me to do any of this. I bought their album myself, so I am just a fan at this point. This song even has like some post-punk vibes at certain parts. It is, for the most part, for a black metal song, one of the slower tempo songs. Like they do have some upbeat parts, but it's really like atmospheric and driven, and there's like some heavy shoegazy parts throughout it as well. And the vocals here again, I mean, I can't speak highly enough of them. The growls here are like guttural and sharp, and yeah, just another killer track. Then it's Systematic Romance, and this one starts off with an almost kind of like doom stoner metal vibe, like a little bit, like not, I mean, it's still very much in like a black metal, like kind of post metal direction, but you get some of like the tones and feels of like a doom or stoner metal track. The vocals here are really the only thing that's still like bringing you back to a like almost traditional black metal song. But it's really, again, really cool. I like seeing what they're doing with like kind of a slower, more introspective sort of song. Kind of subverts your expectations of like what you've come to expect on this album. It does kick it into high gear, you know, a little bit towards the end of the song before kind of falling back into a really groovy rhythm. And then the last couple of minutes of this song are just like a master class on building just like a sonic atmospheric experience. Like it's just it's really really cool. Like the first time I was listening to this, I was driving home from work and I was sitting in traffic, and like when this song came on, specifically the last part of it, I just kind of lost myself in it, and it's still to this you know, listen, which I've now listened to this probably 5 times. One of my favorite moments on the entire album. After that is Short-Lived High Point, and this one is another super groovy, like black metal, shoegaze, almost like post-punk track. I really, really like this one as well. I mean, I like all these songs. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna say anything negative really outside of the mixing and a couple points of like any of these songs. This one I think showcases really well how good they are at like that kind of classic post metal concept of going from a more like, you know, wall of sound, noise metal, sort of like overwhelming auditory experience into a groovy, more like driven, pointed melody. And I think this song does it super, super well. But at its core, it still delivers on the black metal promises of this album. Then we get into the last couple songs on the album, starting with Love Turns to Tragedy. And this one is very somber and laid back at first, for about a minute or so, and then the blast beats just come in and hit you like a brick wall. Just super brutal, intense. It you know, at certain points sinks into like these really guttural, sort of like sluggish growls. There's a couple parts of this song that have like some hardcore beatdown elements to it, before kind of getting back into the more extreme metal aspect of it. There's even some like straight up heavy metal licks on here, like just experimenting with a lot of different genres and blending them all super well and making something that sounds wholly unique, which I just absolutely love. Then it closes out with This Vanity Can't Take the Both of Us! Exclamation point. Um, and this is, man, what a great way to close out the album. So more kind of black gaze vibes, has some like, again, alt metal, almost like post punk elements to it. The bridge goes into like one of the best mixed parts on this entire album, and then it just closes out with like just pure unadulterated brutality and heaviness, and it just like allows you to like fade into the ether with like the closing little bits of this album and just tie a nice bow onto all of it. So yes, I know it sounds like I was paid to say all of that, but I swear to God I wasn't. I genuinely really love this album. I think, you know, a couple mixing issues I have aside, and that could just be me. You know, I know I don't. First off, I don't listen to a ton of black metal. I listen to, you know, I think enough that I can call myself a fan of the genre. But like, I know there's elements of this genre where certain parts are supposed to be, you know, almost like in the background and creating more of like kind of like a wall of sound experience. But I do wish just at a couple points the vocals and the drums were mixed a little bit higher. But outside of that, this was a killer album. One of my favorites of the year so far, probably my second favorite metal album of the year, next to the Death Heaven album. And I haven't liked an album that much in a long time. So high praise for me. Go check these guys out. Check out their music. This album comes out April 25th, so a couple weeks from now. And yeah, I'm giving this a strong A. Not quite an A plus, but man, it's one of the best albums in this particular genre I've listened to in a long time. So that's going to be it for me, guys. Once again, please like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. Leave me a comment down below if you guys are going to go check them out. I highly recommend you do. And as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.